Welcome back to another reading and correcting with me, Kindar, the Tiger Knights, and Time, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I read a chapter from one of my stories and correct it as I go. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. If you are looking to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today, we are doing chapter 34 of The World Which Is. This is the lounge and dining area, Brendan says. He points to the woman behind the counter that takes up half the wall on our right. She's in charge. Through that door is the kitchens. You go in and the odds are you'll be what's served tomorrow. The cook hates people. The other, that other door leads to the stairs and bath. Upstairs are the rooms. The room is large and, I don't know, there's something of an old feeling to it. Possibly the wooden floor, which is polished by people walking on it, instead of any work from the people who placed it. I can tell by how uneven, uneven it is, following the path between tables and to the bar. The walls are plastered and have paintings, skulls, and tools or weapon hanging on it. Trophies? At the back is a larger skull over a fireplace. Is that a dragon? The long muzzle open to show pointed teeth, the elongated skull with horns flowing back. It definitely matches drawing I've seen. Yep, Brandon says with pride, and I expect he's about to claim he put it there. First thing that got hung when the club was opened, is what I heard. Okay, so maybe he isn't quite the braggart that something about him clamors that he is. Still, I focus on the skull. Dragon skull, quality excellent. Art. A rendition of what a dragon's skull might look like by artist Ramona Vincent, taking inspiration from other dragon-like creatures of the world as well as ancient art of creatures human legends claim to have existed at one time. Ramona fashioned what she imagines a dragon's head might be shaped. Wow, might be shaped as when the world is able to support their existence. It's a sculpture, I say, somehow hurt by the deception. I never claim it was the real thing, Brandon replies with a smile. Well, he got me there, and I could have focused instead of asking. My outburst has gathered the attention of the people spread through the room. The half we're in has tables, maybe a train of them. Three are occupied by men and women. One group is entirely non-human. I recognize an orc, a bear-like being, and one that's scaled but doesn't have the lizard-like head I'm expecting. The club has a complete non-discrimination rule. Brandon whispers when he notices me watching them. If you have a problem with them, it's best you keep it to yourself. I look away before it turns into staring and the system pops a window. I'm fine with them. Court's the same way. I just haven't seen many of them. More today than in my entire life. The other half, the one with the fireplace, has plush-looking seats, some close to the fire, others clustered together. Other than one cluster of four people, the men and women there sit alone. Some are looking up from a book, others are staring before them. One is swiping the air, removing any doubt as to what they are doing. You know what? As to what she's doing. Let's make it clear. The other thing they have in common is they look older, like they were born before the system. I turn to ask Brandon if that part of the room is for the old folks, but he's already heading to the counter. It's wood, the front made of one slab of wood with carved panels. The footrest looks like to be brass or bronze, same as the leg of the stools. The woman on the other side is older, at least 40. Her skin is almost the same color as the footrest metal. Her hair is cut short and so golden it might be glowing. Marigold! Brandon exclaims as he reaches the bar, arms extended and leaning over to embrace her. How's the brightest woman in all of Toronto? She's not letting a man covered in blood touch her, that's for sure. She has a hand covered with a washcloth against his chest. Brendan laughs. Not mine, and you should see the other guy. She glances at me. He looks fine and not as bloody as you. Brendan looks over his shoulder, perplexed, then grins. Not him. Him I rescued. The other one, you, Brendan Hill. She levels a serious glare on him. Rescued this young man? The tone is utter disbelief. I came across some of the local rats mugging him, he says. What was I going to do? She looks at him. I did. Sorry, he did, I say in his defense. He took on 3 of them by himself. I tried to help because it looked like he was in trouble there at the start, but the woman they were going to rape kept me from helping. She fixes Brandon again. It was 4 against 1, he says. With the insistence, it should be explanation enough. Then he sags. I was itching for a fight and they were there. There's the Brandon I know and like. She looks at me. Don't feel bad, kid, but I need to keep him honest, or he's going to start believing all the stuff he says about himself. I don't. Brendan closes his mouth at the glare. How about you give me $5 and you go wash up? The tub's filled and warm. I'll even have a beer and bowl of stew for you once you're done. She looks at me again. Seeing as you're with him, I'll offer you the same deal if you want. I look myself over, and my armor's mostly blood-free. She didn't me on the face too much, so I was spared that. I'm dusty, but I'll make do with a washcloth if you can spare one. I'm actually looking to buy something. I was told I could get a magical repair kit for my armor. Brendan has the money on the counter and heads to the door on the left of the bar. As, as, as she looks me over, eyes going up in surprise. I look at myself again. Is my armor dirtier than I think? Those aren't exactly cheap, Marigold says, handing me a wet rag, and unlike what stories want you to believe, they aren't something that'll magically fix everything wrong with it. One of them is basically only good for patch-up work. The worse the repair it needs to fix, the fewer times it'll work. I'm going to learn how to do the repairs myself, but I need something to help me until my skill's high enough the work is going to be reliable. Okay, that's $500. For how many? I ask, stunned at how expensive they are. Okay, so they're magical, but it's just to do patching. It can't take that much work, can it? 1. She replies with an expression that questions why I ask. That's a lot of money. Yes, I have it, but I have to be careful. Otherwise, I'm going to be without when I need it the most. But the point of this is to get ready for a long journey. I don't think I can count on someone's generosity the next caravan I travel with. I'll take 2. She raises an eyebrow again, and a trade window pops up. It lists foods, drinks, along with equipment. The price for what I bought at the caravan market is slightly cheaper here. The repair kits are highlighted just under the normal ones with the price, and I select 2 and agree to the exchange. I know it doesn't actually weigh anything, but my pockets feels lighter somehow. Not that my money is in them either. How about I get you some stew and a beer so you'll stop looking at me like I killed your puppy? Sorry, I shake my head. I didn't expect things to be so expensive. And do you have something other than beer? I have wine, ales, meads. First time in the big city? Something without alcohol? Orange juice? She stares at me. Kid? My name's Dennis. My interruption seems to take some of the bite out of her expression. Dennis, where are you from? Do you have any idea how expensive something like orange juice is? I shake my head. I'm from Cork. It's a few days east of Toronto. Are you some rich kid out for an adventure? No, my dad's a carpenter, and the son of a commander, and I live within base who can make things out of other things, and maybe that makes me some rich kid out for an adventure. I'll take the beer, I reply, not trying to sound dejected. Then take the mug and bowl to a table, trying to ignore the gazes following me. The stew is good, the beer is... I'm not touching that again. I eat slowly, trying to work out how I feel. I never thought of myself as different. My friends, you know what? My friends never treated me like some of the wealthier kids. Folks always treated us with respect since Grandpa Lewis is the commander, but never like it meant that much. The mayor is treated with more reverence than Grandpa Lewis, and all he does is make decisions about how the town runs. Grandpa Lewis and Base basically keep us all safe. I'm just like all the other kids in court, I tell myself. I feel like a new man, Brendan said, putting a bowl and mug on the table before sitting. You get that kit? I nod, then wince slightly as I remember how much it cost. I feel Brandon's eyes on me. How much did she charge you for them? He asks, tone cautious. 500 each. I try not to feel the sting to wherever my money is kept. What the fuck, Marigold? He exclaims, standing. I save him from Mugger and you go and rob him? My head snaps up. What? He didn't protest, she replies. You have gotta be fucking me. Have you looked at him? You see that he knows nothing about the world and you go and scam him? I look down and try not to shrink. It's not my job to pamper people, Brandon. This place isn't for those who can't deal with the hardship. You know that. That doesn't mean you... Forget it. He drops in his seat. Sorry about that, You okay? I nod. I'm not. My throat closes up on me. My eyes sting. Look, I'm sorry if what I said came across as harsh. With saving you, with saying you don't know anything about the world, I hate that she took advantage of you, and when I'm pissed, I don't really think about what comes out of my mouth. I nod again. I guess you're right. I don't know a lot. Back home, when we have to buy something, the prices are marked, and that's what we pay. If we don't like it, there's going to be someone else in town who sells it for cheaper. Of course, that's mostly Dad and the old other folks. When I want something, I just reach into one of the inventories at home and take it out. Base doesn't let me have just anything I want. I learned that when I was younger and thought if I he had to give it all to me. But I don't think Dad ever bought food like the other families do. The fridge is basically always stocked. Base keeps it that way. I dry my eyes. I didn't realize it was so different out here. This is all I've ever known, Brandon said. Born here, Toronto, I mean, on the north side. Not the best part, but we managed and he trails off. Anyway, since you're new at adventuring thing, first tip, always haggle. You'll be amazed at what a good story will get you. He points to something hanging on the wall. I brought this from my expedition, AK-47, circa 1960s. That's how they counted the years before the system. It's about 60 years BS before system. I say they do teach history back home. Well, when I handed it over to Marigold and told her all it took for me to get it, that earned me a lot of goodwill. He winks, if you get my meaning. I nod, even if I don't, really. And was it true, what you told her about it? Who cares? He chuckles. It got me in her bed, that's all that matters. I stare at him as he digs into the stew with gusto, then decide it doesn't matter how he goes about. Well, I don't think it qualifies as charming her, but if sleeping her is what he was after, it isn't my business how he goes about it. I finish my stew, then force a bit more of the beer down because I'm parched. The stuff is horrible. I take the journal and look through the maps. Herbert spoke about Buffalo, and the guard indicated it's across the lake. I run has to have drawn a map of it or how to get there. I find one with Toronto over a dot, Montreal over... Okay, technically... Okay, you know what? I found one with Toronto over a dot, Montreal, because he doesn't speak French. Montreal over the right edge of the paper, Detroit on the left edge, and Buffalo at the bottom. No lake, but maybe Aaron didn't consider them important. At the top is a dot with Sudbury and a question mark next to it. The lines connecting them aren't straight, so I figure they represent the actual roads. A, a dot a little to the right of Toronto is marked as Darlington Power Station, and I look up in its direction, knowing vaguely I'm right. I think about home and get the same thing, only now my sense is I'm correct is stronger. Along the route to Buffalo is a dot marked Hamilton. Closer to Buffalo, one marked the Falls. Brender mutters something and I look up. A man approaches our table. He's at least in his 30s. His clothes are on the finer side. He reminds me of something. They remind me of something the mayor might wear to a function. Although here there's a sense it's a more practical version instead of just to appear wealthy. He's tall and lean. His black hair is cut short and graying at the temple. His beard is neatly trimmed and has no gray to it. And has no gray in it at all. I see your father decided to get out, the man tells me. He's looking he's looking at me, so there's no doubt I'm the one this is for, even if it makes no sense. Xander, Brandon says, why don't you go back to your chair and reminisce about all those great times you claim to have had? Mind your own business, Hills, the man says, not looking away from me. This is between me and Santino's kid. He's my business, Poop, seeing how I rescued him. It's Pope! Xander snarls, finally looking away from me to glare at the grinning Brandon. If you aren't going to respect me, I'm going to have to teach you to do so. You mean have one of your flunkies beat me up? Brandon says dismissively, since you definitely don't have the guts to take me on. Xander! Marigold calls from the bar as the man takes a step in Brandon's direction. You know the club's rule. No fighting in here. I'll be happy to accompany you outside, Brandon says. Xander takes a breath and steps back. You don't have to worry, Mary. I won't be the one to break the rules. He looks at me. I'm going to make you a deal, kid. I'm going to give you $10,000 for your dad's journal. Brandon whistles in amazement, and all I can do is stare at Xander in disbelief. What's in there that's worth so much to you? Brandon asks. Something that's mine, Xander snaps. Can't be yours if it's in that journal. Santino kept it from me. He never did anything with what he uncovered. Probably didn't even understand what he had. He looks at me. So, you don't either. Sell me the journal. I can't. What? You think just because your dad gave it to you when he lost the balls to keep exploring, it makes you an explorer like him? He leans forward, and my protest dies under that hateful glare. Let me tell you something about your father I'm sure he never mentioned. He was nothing more than a coward and a thief. Nothing in there is his. He stole all of that from better people than him. You hang on to that and all you're going to do is wallow in the shit his legacy drops on you. I'm doing you a service by offering to take it off your hands. How about this? Brandon says, cutting off my protest. We find whatever you're so interested in, and then we let all the clubs know about it, and you can join everyone else in going after what's left. The Knox is mine! Xander snapped, then straightened and glares hatefully at Brandon, who is smirking for some reason. Fuck this. Before I can react, Xander grabs one side of the open journal, but when he pulls, it doesn't move. I don't even feel tension on the page as I tighten my fingers to keep him from taking it. Xander lets go. Of course the bastard bound it to you. This is your last chance to do this peaceful. Santino, take my offer. Don't, Brandon says as I shake my head. Neither of them can cut me off if I'm not saying anything. In the full and sign glare, I speak. The journal isn't for sale. If you'd come here and explain why you wanted it and why, I would have shared the information with you. Okay, so I wouldn't have been able to, with the journal locked until I finish the quest. But he doesn't. But he needs to learn that being polite is more rewarding than being a demanding asshole. But after this, you can kiss whatever you want in this journal goodbye. Xander leans forward. Do not cross me, kid. Your father did, and he regretted it. Ask him about that when you go crawling back home. He turns and heads for the door to the stairs. Before I can even try for a reply. Brandon is flipping through a book, scanning pages. Check your journal for anything mentioning the Knox in it. I've heard the name before, but I can't place it. I lower my voice. I can't. He looks up from his book. Why not? Your father gave it to you, didn't he? I shake my head. I found it on his body. It has the map that got me here, but all the information is locked behind a quest. Can I see it? I hesitate, considering someone already tried to steal it. But when I so somebody already tried to steal it, but then hand it over. As with me, only the first quarter opens. Just maps, he mutters before handing it back. Look through them. If this is important enough, Xander Poop was willing to pay for it. There has got to be a notation of it on one of the maps. I can't help but chuckle. Brendan, I don't care what this is about, what it's about. I'm not going after it. He stares at me, stunned. Don't you want to know what the big mystery is? I shake my head, and he narrows his eyes. What kind of explorer are you? He asks, sounding genuinely curious. The one only interested in fulfilling his promise to Aaron, then returning home. He seems to have trouble processing this. He tries and fails a few times to say something. Then, you're serious? I nod, and again he has trouble saying anything. Okay, it's your choice, really. Nothing I can do about it, but I think I'm going to stick by you for a while. I send the journal to my inventory. I can take care of myself. He snorts. That mugging I saved you from tells me the opposite, but it doesn't matter. Xander isn't going to drop this, and he isn't like those muggers. The people working with him are nasty. And that concludes chapter 34 of The World Which Is. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter will be up, subscribe, hit the bell. If you want to read the other chapters in the story, they are up on Royal Road for free. If you want to read ahead of Royal Road and support me in the process, that is on my Patreon. We're about 10 chapters ahead. And if you are looking to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. The links are in the notes, and with that, I shall wish you a good day.